I was a bad man who did bad things to people in foreign countries for money. I did grow a conscience to become the traveler, the embracer, the pathfinder, the defender of those who travel at night. Today on the Comic Book Report, Moon Knight, The Midnight Mission by Jed MacKay. Stick around and check it out. Greetings everyone, my name is Dominic and today you're tuning in for the Comic Book Report, where we review comic books and graphic novels so you can get an idea of what to read. And today I'm back in the world of Moon Knight, checking out Jed MacKay's first trade paperback volume, The Midnight Mission. I had so much fun reviewing Lemire and Smallwood's run on the title, I thought I'd try more Moon Knight. Before we jump in though, I do want to shout out our channel sponsor, OrganicPriceBooks.com. If you're looking to pick up your own comic book collected editions, I highly encourage you to check out their website. You can find a link in the description for this video, and if you find something you like, you can even use my discount code at checkout, TheComicBookReport, to receive $2 off of your order. Please note if you use my affiliate link or code to make a purchase, I will earn a small commission, but it's a fantastic way to support this channel. Thank you so much for considering. Now let's get started with today's Moon Knight review. First, some quick facts about today's collection. The issues in this volume were written by Jed MacKay and illustrated by Alessandro Cappuccio. The comics in this volume were first published by Marvel Comics beginning in 2021. The volume itself collects Moon Knight, the 2021 series, issues 1 through 6. And finally, this is a glossy paper-stocked, glued-bound, standard-sized trade paperback collection coming in at 144 pages. At this time, I'd like to go ahead and issue a general spoiler warning. I will be flipping through the contents of today's collection and commenting on plot points throughout. You've been advised. Okay, and here's our first look at that trade paperback collection from Marvel Comics, and right from the jump, the Steve McNiven cover art is absolutely spellbinding. What a great depiction of our titular Moon Knight character. Love this look of him kind of grizzled and battle-worn in the rain. It's just stunning. Right away, this collection art just really grabbed me. I was really excited to check out this volume. I know a lot of people, when I've asked about Moon Knight, have been really positive about this Jed MacKay run that's been ongoing. And honestly, I had a blast reading these first 6 issues. As far as the spine goes, it is a white-spined book. This is really common for a lot of the modern Marvel trade paperback collections. I know most modern runs look almost identical to this. We got a little bit of a picture window there too. The volume number at the bottom, volume 1. Nothing too remarkable. The back also has some great artwork also from McNiven. Just really beautiful stuff here. I really like the design of this, and this was a really fun book to pick up. And now that we've examined the exteriors, I will just do a quick look at the binding for this guy. Like I said, it is glued binding, which is pretty standard for these standard-sized trade paperbacks. This is a 6th issue little trade though, so it's nothing too remarkable. I don't think the gutter loss is too severe by any means, but you can get a better picture too as I flip through the book for yourselves, but I just wanted to show the binding. And now we can go ahead and jump into the collection proper. We start with a bit of an advertisement for another Moon Knight collection. We have a title page, publication information before jumping right into issue 1. We do have the covers reproduced with a little bit of a border, which I like, and then we're right into the action here. And from panel 1, I knew that this was going to be an exceedingly stylish series. I'm not familiar with this artist, Cappuccio, as much, but frankly, I am an immediate fan after reading just these few handful of issues here. Really beautiful stuff. The issue starts with a full-page, splash panel of Moon Knight, or Mr. Knight rather, sitting in a chair, basically explaining this is his midnight mission, why are you here, how can he help you? And we kind of get introduced to this premise before jumping immediately into an action sequence that's pretty startling and fun. But essentially, the whole midnight mission, what this volume is titled after, is basically Moon Knight's gimmick for the time being. The idea is that he's opening this mission, or this area where people in this neighborhood, travelers of the night, can come to him for help, and he can sort of resolve their drama. If they're being harassed or attacked or in danger, he can come to their aid, and he kind of opens this outpost to do just that. The first sort of assignment given to Moon Knight during this period that we see in the run is basically stopping these vampires who have just recently turned a fresh batch of younger vampires that are just loose on the streets. It's a really epic car chase, and while that's going on, we also flash over to a therapy session being conducted by Mr. Knight's therapist. This back and forth kind of therapy setting is something we see a lot throughout this volume. It kind of helps frame some of the narration we get throughout the issues, and I really like this device. And I think with a character as complex as Mark Spector, the Moon Knight, especially with his dissociative identity disorder or multiple personality situation, I think having a therapy session to kind of ground the narration was a really helpful little plot mechanic. It adds a really nice frame here. I don't think it's overused, but I really enjoyed the time throughout this book. And anyway, we jump back with his action sequences. We have Moon Knight actually befriending one of the vampires who was newly turned, and we get to see him show basically some mercy. He dispatches these kind of evil, aggressive vampires and lets the rest go, and I think that that was a really fun turn right at the beginning. Throughout the issues, we also have the establishment of not only one of these vampires becoming sort of his assistant and kind of the front desk of the Midnight Mission with him, but we also have this person called Hunter's Moon, who's kind of the other fist of Khonshu, and that's just a really interesting kind of foil to the Moon Knight character. He basically criticizes him, his whole philosophy, how he does everything. And Hunter's Moon basically sees how kind of broken the Mark Spector Moon Knight character is. But this is a really interesting relationship. It's kind of cool to see another Fist of Khonshu character. Khonshu himself seems to be imprisoned or really not part of the picture at this moment in the continuity. But we just have Mark Spector as Mr. Knight and Moon Knight basically defending the Knight through his Midnight Mission organization. And we have them fighting all sorts of different villains and people out to basically stop them or try to cause terror. We have some great supervillain cameos from some maybe lesser known villains like Jigsaw from the Punisher universe or Vermin from Spider-Man, among some others. It's a really fun couple of issues that I think overall were pretty successful. We get to see another layer of this Moon Knight character I really like, because one thing I noticed reading this right away is that we almost never see Mark Spector. In fact, in this 6 issues, we only see just a few panels of Mark Spector himself. It almost is treated as when he's doing his costume vigilantism, he's Moon Knight, and when he's anyone else, he's Mr. Knight, which is kind of the suit-wearing, masked Moon Knight character. Really, really interesting. We also have a great issue with Tigra from West Coast Avengers, one of his old colleagues who shows up. That issue's really good at just kind of outlining more of the character depth of Moon Knight and where he's going right now. We get to see a little bit more insight as to why we're not seeing Mark Spector as much as we're seeing Mr. Knight or Moon Knight, and I just really overall enjoyed that. I will say that I am not a super well-versed Moon Knight fan as of yet. I've read a little bit of the Bendis run, some of the very early appearances of Moon Knight, and then as of like a week or two ago, I did read that Jeff Lemire and Greg Smallwood Moon Knight run, which I reviewed on the channel, and I decided to jump straight to this Jed MacKay run after hearing a lot of positive feedback and just basically getting a copy of this volume 1. I picked it up, and overall I was not displeased. I do think I'm a very, very new fan of this character, so there's stuff I don't know about the continuity. I would be curious from those who follow this character more devotedly, what have I missed here? Am I missing anything important? Because reading this relatively blank slate, I do think that this is a pretty appropriate place to be onboarded for new readers or prospective readers of Moon Knight. I think that they really establish a new status quo with the Midnight Mission and the supporting cast he surrounds himself with, and I don't really think you need a lot of the back history to enjoy this run. Transitioning over to the art for a second from Cappuccio, throughout it, I just think it's absolutely stunning. It has this real, like, pop art feel to it. I don't know if it's the use of blacks and whites and shadows with the Moon Knight character and even the Hunter's Moon character, but I just think that all of the just artistic interpretations throughout this book are just outstanding. The character models are all really unique, and the Moon Knight characters almost look like they glow. They almost look like they're, like, luminescent in a weird way, and I just think that's such a nice touch. I think even when wearing the masks, there's just so much expression on Mr. Knight and Moon Knight, and it just really works for me. I really, really dig it. I think that the color palettes are all interesting and fresh. Like I said, there's really a kind of angular pop art aesthetic to it, and it's just really lush and beautiful. I think the environments are kind of understated and yet really immersive in their way, and whenever Moon Knight gets particularly dark or intense, there's almost a monstrous quality to the illustration, and I really, really dig that. The couple times we actually do get Mark Spector outside of the mask are extremely humanized and just really full of emotion, and I really dug that as well. I do think the action sequences in particular are a really shining example of how well this artist just portrays this character. There's a really great sense of just frenetic motion whenever we have an action sequence or kind of a dream sequence, and I just think it's really outstanding. I think that the art is a major selling point for this run, and that's not to say Jed MacKay is any kind of slouch in this. He's done an outstanding job so far as well, in my opinion, but this art just really elevates this to something pretty spectacular. It's at times almost hard to evaluate a work like this because this first 6 issues, while it does have a small story arc that does resolve by the end, and I won't spoil too much for you verbally so you can all enjoy it, I don't feel like I've gotten the full payoff of this run yet, of course, because this is just the first handful of issues. And I think it's hard to compare it when I read something like the entire Jeff Lemire, Greg Smallwood run that was a 14-issue kind of maxi series over there. I really like just the full breadth of that storytelling, beginning, middle, and end. This is a first volume. I can't really judge it on anything that comes after. I don't know how Jed MacKay is going to stick the landing of his run. I can only really evaluate it for just this first arc. I think overall I am impressed. Overall I do consider this a bit above average. The art is certainly just outstandingly gorgeous, and I really see why this is so highly recommended. This is also personally my first foray into Jed MacKay's bibliography. I am open to more suggestions if you can comment. I've heard pretty good things about his Black Cat run, but I really don't know anything else this writer has really done to my knowledge. But so far, really impressed by this. I think it was really solid stuff. I will say we don't see a lot of the other personalities for Moon Knight, for Mark Spector, and I was expecting to see maybe a little bit more of those transitions, but apparently this character is in a place where that doesn't occur as much, maybe this is something I've missed out on. I do think that this is pretty accessible for new readers, like I mentioned before. It doesn't feel as out there, I will say, compared to other Moon Knight incarnations I've read or dabbled with a bit, but overall this left a pretty good impression with me. Like I said, it's hard to beat this art. It's absolutely outstanding. I think for people that aren't as interested in Moon Knight, it may be worth it to see Jed MacKay's approach, and especially with this artwork. It's just gorgeous. Not a lot of extras at the back other than some of the variant covers in the form of little thumbnails. We don't even get the full reproduced page length covers, which is kind of a bummer for me, but still nice to see a little bit of extras here at the back, and that really does it for Moon Knight, the Midnight Mission, Volume 1 of Jed MacKay's run. If you're enjoying this run still, let me know in the comments what you think, and I believe all that's left to do now is to give this trade paperback a grade. For the start of another exciting chapter in the history of this incredible character, with a successful establishment of a new status quo, supporting cast, and some of the most gorgeous art I've had the pleasure of seeing recently, the Comic Book Report is happy to give Moon Knight, the Midnight Mission, Volume 1 of Jed MacKay's run on this book, a B. This is a book that I think has some serious potential. I think just evaluating these first 6 issues, I really enjoy it. I think the setup is all there, but it hasn't really reached the heights I'm hoping it to just yet. Maybe it gets there. It's definitely still worth a read for those that are interested in this character, I believe, and it's certainly above average, but it's not quite into that A range for me personally. But maybe I missed the mark here. Definitely let me know what you think in the comments, or if you'd like to see more Moon Knight content in the future. It's been fun to dabble with this character a little bit, as I don't really know a ton about him. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and that's going to do it today for the Comic Book Report. Please don't forget to leave your like, a comment, and maybe check out one of my other videos on your way out. Thank you so much, and have a good one.